Hi everyone, this is Dikshit. Welcome to my channel. In this particular video, I'm going to discuss about dynamic parameterization in Jenkins. And this is a second video on dynamic parameterization, wherein the first video was quite simple, wherein like I had a job wherein I will have three dropdowns, wherein one is environment, sub-environment, and the server. Whenever there is a change in the environment dropdown, so it will gonna in turn change sub-environment and the server. So whenever there is a change in sub-environment, it will gonna change the server's drop down according to whatever the selection that I've made it in sub environment. So this I could able to do it with a combination of active reactive parameters and also a little bit of Groovy scripting. Simple Groovy scripting. Let me click on configure. And if you could see here, so first one is active choice parameter. And if you want to see this option, when you enable this project is parameterized, if you want to see active choice parameters, as I said, you need to go to manage plugins and you need to install active choice parameter plugin. So once you install it, then only when you try to add a parameter. So let me go a little bit down and you can see that when I click on add parameter, so these three options will be visible once after you install that particular plugin. So I've already installed, so that's the reason I could able to see that option. And you can see that in the first active choice parameter, I've selected env, name as env, and I've given the information, a small Groovy script here. And also wherein like the next active choice reactive parameter. So this drop down will be reactive depending on some other drop down. So that's why I have created this as active choice reactive parameter. So here I have given sub environment and also again like I've just used a simple if else loop in the Groovy script. So if the environment is production, so then I'm gonna echo this, and also whenever the environment is QA, I'm gonna return this QA1 and QA2. So it is a simple if else loop that I've used. And also wherein you can see this is very important referenced parameter. So I've given my first active choice parameter. So that means I'm telling that whenever there is a change in that dropdown, even this particular dropdown should change. So basically it should execute this particular Groovy script and should display the output, and a specific option should be selected in the dropdown. So that is what I'm trying to do. And that's why I said like, please refer that particular video, the first video on dynamic parameterization. You'll get a lot of clarity. So now, so this is very simple, as I mentioned, by using simple if else loops, I could able to achieve. Now the scenario is a little different. Let me show you that. So let's say, for example, we have a job wherein like it will accept Docker image as an input. So wherein like when you provide the image, it will gonna connect to Kubernetes cluster and also deploys the application on Kubernetes cluster. Let's assume, so that is what this particular job will do. So let me click on configure. I'll show you Jenkins file also. You can see that one variable is the string parameter, so which is image name, and the default value is UI colon 1.0. So okay, so now if I scroll it down, you can see that this is a pipeline job. When I go to this particular GitHub URL, so this is where Jenkins file will be written. So let me go there, and also let me come back to this job. You can see script path is Jenkins aids deployment. So by default, you need to have a Jenkins file in the GitHub repository, then only it will gonna call and it will gonna execute it. So let's say your Jenkins file name is different. So then you need to provide it in the script path. So whatever the Jenkins file, whatever the name that you have given, so that particular name you should refer it in the script path. So now my Jenkins file is a Jenkins file KH deployment. So let me go to this particular repository. You can see that. So wherein I have Jenkins KH deployment. So when I click on this, you can see here, there are only two stages. One is connecting to Kubernetes cluster. I'm just checking the connection is working fine or not. So the next one is I'm going to replace whatever the image value that will be provided by the user when he when he runs this particular job. So this particular image name is there, right? I'm trying to replace in Kubernetes manifest file, and then I'm trying to deploy. So let me open this Kubernetes manifest file also. Very simple Kubernetes manifest file. So if I go back to Jenkins repository, and if you could see here, Jenkins KH YAML. Here you can see I have an image name. So this is what I am trying to replace it by using sed command. I'm replacing that image name with so whatever has been user has sent. So now also the way you'll access that particular value is, so you need to provide the parameter name. So when I click on configure, here you can see the name of the parameter is image name. So if you want to access whatever will be given in the text box string as a parameter I've selected here, right? So whatever will be given in this text box, if you want to access that value, so then you need to give dollar and the name of the parameter. So in that case, in this case, wherein like when I run like this, let me click on this particular job and click on build with parameter. When I click on build, the dollar image name value will be UI colon 1.0. So it will be replaced and my Kubernetes manifest file will be updated. And after that, I'm applying on my Kubernetes cluster. And if you don't know how to install Jenkins and Kubernetes cluster and also Nexus, in my case, I'm using Nexus as my private registry, and also all the images that I'll be downloading to deploy this particular job the images will be downloaded from private registry. And if you don't know how to set it up and how to authenticate with Kubernetes cluster, I have recently uploaded a video, which is a kind of a big video wherein like I've shown different stages in the Jenkins. It is CI/CD pipeline to deploy a Java-based application on KH cluster. I'm gonna provide the link of that video also. You can go ahead and you can check it out. And also, as I said, installation guide also I've created, which is there in my GitHub. I'll provide this link also. You can refer this and you can install Kubernetes cluster, as well as you can install a Nexus and also Jenkins. All the instructions for the Ubuntu has been already documented here. So now let's get back to the scenario. You can see here. So when an image name is given, so when you click on a build, so it will gonna run that particular Jenkins file and it will gonna deploy the application. So let me click on build. So now what it should do is it should connect to Kubernetes cluster and it will gonna deploy it onto the Kubernetes cluster. So you can see that it has been already deployed. So maybe first deployment is already done. So that's why it took very less time. So now I've already connected to that Kubernetes cluster. So let me do kubectl get pivo. So I can see it is 18 minutes because whatever the deployment that I made, the first deployment at the same image. So that's the reason it could able to kind of like, I mean, when you run it again, it didn't reapply. So there was no changes. Let me change this particular image. So if the image name has to be given, so then user, so obviously you need to use, you'll have some CA pipeline that has generated the artifact. You should get the image name from there, or else you can get it from the Nexus. You can go to his repository. So in my case, this internal is the repository, Docker repository that I've created. And let's say, for example, I want to deploy now a Spring App 11 build. So this is what, let's assume this is what I want to deploy. In this case, what I need to do is I need to click here and I want to copy the Docker image. What will be the Docker image? In my case, it will be Spring App 11. So I'm going to copy this. So let me provide it in the image name. So let me click on build. When I do that, so whatever the image changes are there, right? So it will gonna pull that particular image and then it will be deployed. So let's go back to Kubernetes cluster and let me access it. So now a new pod should be created. You can see that a new pod has been created and the older one has been deleted. So now it is good when the image name is given properly, it is going ahead and it is connecting to Kubernetes cluster and it has been deployed successfully. And I will be able to access the application also. Let me do kubectl get all. So let me get the information about the port information. So the service is node port. So that's why it's a web application. I will be able to access it via browser. So let me go here and then give the port. And also in my case, I've used a kubeadm cluster. So let me get any one of the machine IP and then I should be able to access my app. So when I do this, so when like I should be able to see a web page. You can see it is a sample web application has been deployed by using GitHub Actions. So that is fine. So it is just a web page. It is showing that particular one. So let's say, for example, what has happened. This works fine whenever the image name is given properly. So let's assume a user was newly joined to the team. So he didn't know where to get it and how to provide the image name. So rather than providing image name colon tag, so what he has done is like he has given UI and also without colon, he has given the tag. So now, with using this value, he has tried deploy. So when he tries to deploy, Jenkins job will be successful because Jenkins will make sure that that particular command, whatever you have given to Jenkins, has been applied or not. You can see that kubectl apply command, it will gonna execute and then it will be kind of deployed onto the Kubernetes cluster. But now, when I go back to the Kubernetes cluster and check what is the status of my pod, so it will be failed in state because that particular image won't be searched in my Kubernetes cluster. Sorry, not in the Kubernetes cluster. It won't be able to find that particular image in my particular Nexus. So that's why you can see that it is an image pullback of error. So I need to try to avoid these things because it is very riskier when I deploy, when I do these kind of mistakes, when I'm deploying it to higher environments. This is not acceptable at all, because the image name should be given properly. And also it might happen wherein even the experienced guys who are working in the project, they might also do some mistakes when they're providing the image. So wherein like I want to avoid this problem. So now what I want is, rather than having this text box, so wherein like whatever the images which are there in the Nexus, what Jenkins should do is Jenkins should communicate with the Nexus and get all the images which are available in under this internal repository in the Nexus. So that in that case, rather than providing the image name as a text, he can choose that particular one in a dropdown and then he can deploy it. So now let me show you that job also, which is already ready, but let me explain you how I did it. First, let me show you. So this is what, wherein like if you see here, so when I click on build with parameter, you can see image name. What it is trying to do is, it is communicating with your Nexus, a private registry, and getting the all the images with the tags has been kind of in a drop down it is showing. So now there won't be any typo mistakes because ultimately wherein like we are selecting a proper image, and then when we try to deploy it onto a Kubernetes cluster, image pullback errors, you won't be able to see it. Okay, wherein like I've generalized. So in the repository, whatever the images are there, I'm just taking and I'm showing it here. So if you want to, let's say for example, you want to filter based on the image only, so that also you can do it, wherein like you can use some kind of like filtration in the script, and then you can display only specific images. Like let's say for example, you want to display only Spring app. So then you can filter it out. So and then wherein like you can show in this dropdown. So let me show you how to filter it out and how this particular one is able. I'm able to do it because so these images wherein like I'm getting it from Nexus. Okay, so if I let me do one thing. So I'm gonna delete any one of the tag. So let me do that. So now when I refresh it here, so I shouldn't be seeing that particular version. So I guess 17 is what I've deleted. So now let me see here whether 17 is there or not. You can see still the 17 is there. So let me go back and click on build with parameters. So now when I click on this, now you can see 17 is no more, because what I'm trying to do is whenever user clicks on build with parameter, it will gonna connect to Nexus, get the images, list of images from the Nexus, and it is displayed under this drop. So now user should select any one of this image only. You can't do any typo mistakes. So that is what I'm trying to achieve it. So then, so this is fine, but how I'm achieving it? So let me show you that. Let me click on configure. Again, you can see that I'm using active reactive parameter here, wherein like active choice parameter. And here you can see that I'm using image name. Name of the parameter is image name. And I've written a very small Groovy script. And also, it's not only Groovy script, one shell script also I've used it here. So let me explain the Groovy script first, and then I'm going to explain you the shell script that I've used within the Groovy script. And also whatever are the things that I'm using, this Groovy scripting and also whatever the shell script that I'm using already has been uploaded to GitHub. So this is where you can go to Jenkins repository. And under this, you can see that active and reactive parameters, not this, sorry about that. You can see script is a folder. Under that, you can get that shell script that I'm going to discuss in a while. And also, you can see DSL image list. So this is the Groovy scripting I'm using in my Jenkins job. Okay, so let me explain you this. So what I'm trying to do is here I've just defined a variable, and also I am providing my shell script. So wherein like in my Jenkins, wherein I've already copied a shell script under opt images.sh. So I'm gonna show you what is there in that shell script, but it is a shell script. And also wherein like I'm providing one variable that particular to that particular shell script, and also I am using a dot execute function. So what it does is basically whatever you have provided in double quotes, it will gonna execute. Okay, and whatever the executed, when it executes, whatever the output of that particular shell script, right, it will gonna store it in this PROC variable, whatever I've given. So it will gonna store it in this particular variable. And also I've given wait for function. I've used wait for function. Why I'm using it is because So I want to wait until this completes, because before completing this, I don't want to move ahead with like other instructions. So that's where I'm using this wait for. So wherein like to execute this particular script, it might take couple of seconds. So that's why I'm doing a execute. So once that is done, I'm waiting for until the complete execution of the script. So once that is done, so once the script execution is successfully done, so wherein like it will gonna come to this part, you can see that. So this is a variable. It will have error as well as output. If it is an output, I am reading it in output variable. You can see that the variable name in text. So that means if this script execute to the success, so then it will gonna store. I'll gonna store the output into output variable, and also if it fails, so wherein what I'm trying to do is I've defined one more variable. I'm storing the error message in this error. And also I'm storing the exit status also in the variable exit code. Okay, and then so if it is a success, so then error will doesn't have anything, wherein like it will be null. If it is an error, whatever the script that I've executed, if it fails, so then error variable will have some text. So that is wherein like I've used the if loop again here in the Groovy script. If it has some content, or like if it has some data, so then I'm gonna print these things. So standard error, and also what is the exit status it has failed with. Let's assume it has not failed. It has got it has been success, this particular shell script. In that case, wherein like output will be not null, it will have some data. So that data, you can see that here I'm using a return and output. So this variable I'm using, and also I'm using tokenized function. So what it does is it will gonna convert a string into kind of a list, because I'll be getting a string, so that I want to convert it as a list. So that means whichever the string which will be separated with spaces, right? I want to let's say for example the output. So let me go back to Visual Studio Code. So let me create a new file. Let's assume my output will be like this. So UI colon 1.0, and also like UI colon 2.0. So let's say this is the output of the script that I'll get it. So I want as a list, not as an array or not as a plain string. I want it as a list. So that means list means I want it like this: UI 1.0 and also UI 2.0. So if you want to convert your string into a list, so then you need to use tokenize. So that is what I'm trying to do. Very, very simple Groovy script here. And also let me show you what is there in this particular script. So for this, what I'll do is I'll gonna get into my Jenkins box. So this is the Jenkins box. So let me do cat on this particular script. So when I do this here, you can see that it is a small shell script that I've used. Very simple. First thing is it will gonna accept the first parameter. So I'm sending a parameter. If I go back to Jenkins, you can see that the first parameter is internal. That is a repository name, so that I'm expecting. And also by using curl commands, curl request, I am sending a request to my Nexus. This is my Nexus IP, and I'm sending a curl request. So by using this particular API, I'm getting the count of images. If the count of images are more than 0, so then only I should be able to again use some curl request and get the image names and also tag names. I should be able to do it. Wherein like if the image count is 0, so then I want to display it as no images. So that is what I wanted to do it. So that's where you can see that it is very simple. I've declared a variable, and also dollar and normal brackets I've opened, and this is a curl command that I've given. So let us execute this. So let me execute this particular curl command, and now I should replace this $1 with internal, because I am sending that particular repository. Okay, when I do that, you can see that you're going to get a lot of information about your list of images which are there in this specific repository. Because I am passing already a repository name, it will going to give me all the images. You can see Spring app, and also you can see that like many images, UI1, and also you can see busy box. The tag is unstable. So when like there are many images which are available, so that it will going to list. But I don't need all this information. And also you can see the output is JSON format. And most of the cases, whenever you trigger some APIs, most likely you'll get JSON as an output. So to deal with this JSON output, you can go with JQ. And in my previous video also, I had especially discussed about JQ. I've taken a scenario with the Nexus, and I've explained how to work with JQ. So that's where in this video, I won't be explaining that. So please check out my previous video. So what I'm trying to do here is after executing this curl, right? So let me execute this. So there is one more extra pipe symbol. So let me remove that. So when I execute this, so I need to provide GQ. So when I execute this, so wherein like you can see that it will give me count. So wherein like I'm selecting only the names of the images and also I'm supplying it to WC minus L. So it will give me the count. So if count is more than 0, so let me again cat that particular script opt images.sh. You can see that like I'm just calculating the count of the images. If the count is more than 0, so then I should go and execute this block. If the count is if it is 0, so then I want to show no images. So that's the reason I'm storing that particular script. So and also wherein if I execute if the images are more, so let's assume like if the images are more than 0, so then I am coming here and I'm executing this particular. So maybe you can, if you want to keep this one in the if section and else section, you want to keep no images, you can change the condition according to your use case. In my case, what I've done is if the images is equals to 0, it will be no images. If the images are more than 0, so then I'll execute this curl command. Okay, again, if I execute this curl command, so let me do execute this. Let me change this to internal. Okay, the same command, whatever I've used previously, the same command I'm trying to use here also. So now let me give the JQ. So let me go back to my GitHub. So I'm going to show where that script is here. So let me copy it from your script image.sh. So here, this is where like I'm doing a JQ and also I'm filtering it out actually a specific value only. So that is what I'm trying to do here. So whenever you come across JSON output, so then if you want to handle it better, so then it is always better to go with JSON query. So JQ means JSON query. So I will be able to handle that. So when I execute that, you can see that I'll be getting the list of images with the tag. Okay, so this is what the script is doing. So it will gonna accept one parameter. The first, what I'm trying to do is in the script. So first I'm identifying the number of images. If it is more than 0, so then I'm executing one more curl command and I'm getting image names. And this particular script only, you can see that it has been called in the Groovy script. And whatever I have shown by using curl command JQ, you can directly do it with Groovy scripting. But I wanted to show one thing, wherein like when you have a shell script, if you want to call it in Groovy scripting, so how do we call that? So that is what I wanted to show because many DevOps engineers, maybe they might be good at shell scripting, but it's not like mandatory that if they're good at shell scripting, they might know this Groovy scripting. So wherein like they have a script if they want to call it. So this is how we will do it. So here you can see opt images.sh and internal is what I've given. So now let me save it. And as you can see here, when I click on build with parameter, so internally what will happen is it will gonna call that script. It will gonna fetch the images. So it is showing you. So this is what, wherein like now user selects any image and if he tries to deploy, so that particular image, it will be deployed. Okay, so now let's go back to Kubernetes cluster, and both the jobs are same. Wherein like if you see configure, when I click on configure, the same Kubernetes manifest file is referred here. You can see that this is a Jenkins script path. So wherein like it has the same Kubernetes manifest file. So whatever was previously, it was wherein like image pullback error was coming up, right? The same deployment, I am deploying it from two different Jenkins files. So now let me do kubectl get pivot. So now previous two versions should be deleted and the new version should come up. So this is the previous output. You can see that 73 seconds ago, a pod has been successfully kind of deployed. So if you want to see more information about a pod, you can see kubectl describe, and also I can give pivot, and also the pod name also I can give. So when I do this, so wherein like image information or all, I will be able to read it. Okay, let me just describe it. And so once it is done, you should be able to see the image also. This is an image with it has been deployed. Okay, so now let me go back to my Jenkins job, and this is fine. Wherein like if I'm pointing to one repository, wherein like I'm able to read a particular kind of images from one specific repository. So let's say I want to even more generalize. I want to get the kind of list of I want something like, so let me show you this. So I want something like this, build with parameter, and I want repositories, all the Docker repositories. In my case, if you could see here, I have two Docker repositories. One is Docker internal, other one is internal. So when I click on my build with parameters, it should show first Docker repos, and also depending on whatever I select. If I select internal, so internal repository, images which are related to internal repository should be displayed here. And if I select Docker internal, so then depending on the change of this particular dropdown, the images should be displayed. So you can see that under Docker internal, there are no images. So that's where you can see that it is displaying that like no images. So that's where, if you could remember, wherein like when I went there in my Jenkins, and also when I do cat on OPT, images.sh. So this is the reason. So when I do cat, you can see that is the reason I'm doing a kind of a decision. Okay, 0. If the images are 0, please display no images is what I have given. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to do here. And also how I'm able to achieve this. So this should be done by using active and reactive. In the previous example, in this particular one, wherein like app deployment, you can see that there is only one dropdown. So in this case, I've used only active choice parameter. You can see that. So I've used active choice parameter. I've given a Groovy script. So this Groovy script, in turn, it is calling some shell script. But wherein like the other requirement, wherein like to generalize even more, here you can see that two dropdowns are. One is repo, another one is images. Okay, here you can see that wherein like whenever there is a change in this repo, so it is images dropdown is getting affected, right? So wherein like, let me click on configure. So I'll show you how I've configured. So you can see that first is repo, the same logic, same script. So whatever I've explained, same explanation goes well here also. I'm just calling different script, that's all. So let me show you this script also. Let me go back to my Jenkins and let me do cat on Jenkins. So when I do this, you can see that very simple script. Let me open it in GitHub. So let me click on script, and this is the script that I'm calling. So a single curl command, wherein you can see that this is a Nexus API, and also I'm just listing out the repositories, and also I'm doing a kind of like a JSON query again. So in whatever the output that I'll get, right, I'm filtering it out in that particular output. So that is what I'm trying to do here. And also wherein like whatever the output, whatever the selection I'll do in this should be reflected in the other drop down also, right? So whatever is the value that I'm going to select in this drop down, so depending on that, my images should change. So that's where you can see this is the active choice parameter. So the next one would be active and reactive parameter. So you can see here active and reactive parameters. The name of the parameter is images. The script is, you can see it is same, but here one change is what has happened is, so if I want to access the value which is selected in this active choice parameter, so then I need to use this value. $repo is what I need to use. So that is what I have tried doing here. So dollar and flower braces and also repo. So that gets me the value, whatever I've selected in the first dropdown. So, and also after that, you can also see here, there will be one important thing as the referenced parameter. So I need to give the repo here. So then only whenever there is a change in that repo dropdown, so it will gonna trigger the script, and depending on the output of the script, the options will be available under the dropdown. So this is wherein like if you want to use active and reactive also, it is possible. And I wanted to show this use case also, wherein like how do we take the other drop down as an input to the second drop down. So now also wherein like here we are not hard coding it, so we are getting the value from the first drop down, and depending on that we are trying to populate the second drop down. So now let me click and click on build with parameter. And here if you could see, when I select internal, so all the images which are related to internal repository in the Nexus, those are displayed. And when I select Docker internal, you can see that images which are related to Docker internal. In my case, when I go to Docker internal, when I browse it, you can see nothing is there. So that's why there also it is showing no images. And also when I go back to my internal repository, you can see that there are so many images and so many tags for each image, wherein you can select whichever you need. And also, if you want to filter specific image also, then you need to do little more changes in the images.sh script, and then that you need to execute it. So that is what I wanted to show in this particular video, wherein like how do we call a shell script and also populate the drop down values. So that is what I wanted to discuss. So and also hope you have liked this video. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Have a good day.